One of the biggest mistakes women can make, using dating, especially men, to chase their own dreams. And that's exactly what Ariel did. So I grew up The Little Mermaid. Of course, I loved it. And I love that they changed a lot in the new Little Mermaid. They addressed some of this like really problematic stuff, right? When I say like don't pull an Ariel, what I mean is if you want to do something, find a way to make it happen without it being tied to a relationship, especially a relationship with men, because that very factor is going to ruin the whole thing. It's still going to be all about him. Do you know how often? So in all of these Facebook groups of people who like want to move to France, the most common piece of advice that everyone says, because it's actually really hard to immigrate to European countries. Look at my dog right now, by the way. It's just like, what are you doing? But it's really hard to immigrate to European countries or just any Western country because of like racist immigration policy and because you just can't come if you don't have money. Like I must have spent a year and a half researching how the hell you immigrate if you don't have a lot of money. And someone told me about the auxiliary program where, you teach English in Spain with the government. They give you like a student visa that allows you to make money, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that's the only way you could come without like a year's worth of savings. And yet the number one thing that people suggest, just get married, get the marriage visa. No, don't do those things. Oh my God, look at this. Look how he's like... That is literally the worst thing you can do. That is the most vulnerable thing you can do as a woman. Do you know how many men will use immigration and your immigration status being tied to them as a way to control you? And that's why, so like the number one thing that men in abusive relationships, whether it's physical or emotional or whatever, again, all of it's physical because they'll kill you with their nervous system. The first thing they do is isolate you. Hey, come move to France or come move to Spain. Come over here, like, free healthcare and whatever. It's not free. Obviously, taxes pay for it, right? It's a good life over here. So you're like, cool, yeah, like I hate my family. Not really, but like a lot of immigrants leave because they already like don't feel like they have anything that they're leaving. They don't have a sense of community or family. Like it's like easy for them to leave because they're like, what am I leaving? Whereas it's harder to leave when you're like really close to your family and have a really strong community. So they're like, yeah, I'll just go over there, right? Then they've got you isolated. And the language is going to isolate you. If you're not super fluent, you are immediately separated. If you are not located in a big city, you're screwed. Do you know how few people speak English in France? And I actually love that. That's one of the reasons why I came. Because I appreciate how much they make rules and laws to make sure that English doesn't dominate the whole country, like they have laws that set them up to protect them from like being just infiltrated with stuff from the US. There's several countries who are doing that now because we just like blast this stuff out there, right? Or if you're in a small town, they're not going to have like expat groups or immigrant groups. Like you're literally, it's just, you know what I mean? You got nobody. If you don't speak the language really well, it's already hard to make friends in France in general because it takes a lot of time. But if you're already an outsider, forget about it. It's going to take a lot more time, a lot more effort. It's really expensive to fly back home, so you're not even going to visit your family much. Like you're isolated in so many ways, right? The cultural differences, there's like so much to learn. You're already like apart because of you just coming from a different mindset. So you have all these things, right? And on top of that, it's with you and his family. Him and his family against you. Because again, his family is always going to side with him. You are an outsider. This is like not even like international thing. This is just in general. Like mamas always support their baby sons and believe their sons over their daughter-in-laws. So this thing that could have been cool if you'd gone and done it on your own and figured out a way, if possible, if you have all the privilege, if you have money, if you have a passport, because again, passport privilege is a thing, right? If it's possible, if you go and follow this dream of moving to a whole new world like Ariel, but you don't hinge it on a man, you may actually be happy. But if you hinge it on a man the way she hinged it on Eric, like think about what happens to Ariel if Eric is abusive. Think of what all she's given up for him. And like I said before, if she has kids, again, if you have kids with a man in a foreign country, you cannot leave that country with those kids or it's kidnapping. So you're stuck in this whole new world that maybe you dreamed about and thought was going to be this amazing experience. But because it's tied to one man, that is putting so much faith into one man who has the whole system of patriarchy on his side, plus his country and immigration laws and his family and his friends and language and all of that is pushing for him and him to have the upper hand. So you moving to a country for a man immediately gives him the upper hand. And since he's already got patriarchy and all these other systems, you're doubly vulnerable and probably doubly screwed, or triply, whatever, quadruply screwed. So yeah, I'm all about people going to a whole new world. If that's what you really want, that's what I did. But please, for the love of God, don't hinge it on trusting a man, because men lie all the time. They either lie outright or they lie through omission. They may just conveniently not tell you that their mother is a controlling, right? And then you get there and you're like, whoa, I have to spend all this time with mama and she hates me. I'm telling you, the problems between the in-laws and like the wife, whoo, it's nonstop on these expat groups. Which again, I prefer immigrant, but for some reason all the Facebook groups call them expats. Not for some reason, we know why, right? Go to that whole new world if that's what you really want, but please don't hinge it on men. That is literally betting against the house, and the house always wins.